So with CJ May not choosing to go to Syracuse, the Orange recruiting class stands still at 28 total players. That is second in the country, only behind Rutgers. Now, Syracuse, for a brief moment, was actually then down to 27 because their long snapper commit, Henry Searcy, decommitted from Syracuse and then committed to Pitt. So they were down to 27 at one point, but then Syracuse got back up to 28 when Jayden Mann, the offensive lineman, committed to Syracuse just a couple of days ago. And Jayden Mann is one of the best prospects now in Syracuse's 2025 class. He could easily be a 4-star, but as Brian Smith said, a lot of it is due to the region where he's from. So that's why not a lot of scouts are watching up in New York State, or they're not watching a lot of New York State football, to be honest with you. So that's why a lot of these players can get undervalued, because there's just not a lot of scouts that are there compared to the South, when there's a ton of them in the South watching football players. But anyways, he's got good size. He just needs to work on his technique, apparently. So that's good stuff regarding Jayden Mann, one of the better recruits now in Syracuse's 2025 recruiting class. The average recruit for Syracuse on 24/7 Sports is an 86. It's about an 86. So overall, I'm going to throw a lot of numbers at you. So let me just break it down. Overall, Syracuse football has a top 35 recruiting class. Top 35 recruiting class in 2025. Okay? They're top 35 in the country. That's good. That's really good. I think we'd all take that. But their average grade of those prospects is an 86. Okay? Their average grade is an 86. That average would put Syracuse just inside the top 50 in recruiting. What do I mean? You need clarification? Here it is. If you go by all the factors in recruiting, all of them, right? The amount of commits you have, the average of those commits, Syracuse is 32nd in the country. If you just go solely off of the average player recruit in terms of how they are graded, they are just inside the top 50, which is not bad. It's not bad, but still, there's a steep drop-off, in part because, yes, they're getting a lot of commits, and you do need a lot of commits in football. It's better than when Syracuse used to get less than 20 players in its recruiting class. But the quality of the recruits, at least on paper, in terms of their star rating, which you can take for what it's worth, is not the same. It doesn't quite match up to their overall ranking. It's really propped up because they have a ton of commits in the class. So I think when you're assessing the 2025 class, Syracuse is probably going to land within the top 50. I'm actually very confident that when all is said and done, they are going to be overall ranked inside the top 50. But don't be surprised over the next few weeks, next few months, that Syracuse slips from where it is right now, I think 32, all the way down into the 40s. Just don't be surprised if and when that happens, due to the fact that they already have 28 commits in the class. Only one school last year had more than 30, and that was Nebraska. So Syracuse football recruiting, I'm not saying it's over, but there aren't many recruits that are left for the class. There just aren't a lot left. There's still a lot of things that can happen, but there's just not a lot left. So it's going to be a good class, but it won't be an elite class. I think 2026 is shaping out to be exceptional. They already have 3 players in it, all of which are 4 stars or even better. I believe Isaiah Williams was ranked as a 5-star composite at one point. So their 2026 recruiting class is really strong right now. That's looking like it's going to be better than 2025. But still, I think we'd all take a top 50 recruiting class. That's pretty good. As far as the breakdown of the 2025 Syracuse football recruiting class, of the 28, 16 of them play offense, 9 of them play defense, and 3 of them are considered athletes. So they could be both offense or defense, kind of like in 2026, how Demetrius Samuel is listed as an athlete. Now, he plays mostly defensive back, but he's listed as an athlete because he can play both ways, offense and defense. So that's where Syracuse has 3 athletes in 2025. Samuel is 2026. It's important to note that these numbers are not final by any means. They are not final because more players can commit, even though I don't think it would be that much. You're already at 28, so maybe a few more. Some can decommit, right? We just saw it with Henry Searcy, the long snapper, decommitting from Syracuse. Players can also flip their commitments as well. That happens all the time, especially around the early signing period, which is on December 5th. It is super duper important that the Orange have success on the field by that December 5th deadline. They have to be a successful team on the field by December 5th because Fran Brown and his staff, I've said this before on the podcast, but in case you're new, here is the main point. Fran Brown and his staff have done a great job really shifting the culture with Syracuse football recruiting. They're taking big swings. They got some guys in 2024. In 2025, yeah, they really haven't landed anyone. That's not I mean, they haven't landed a 4 or 5 star in 2025. They're taking big swings. 2026, they've gotten some elite recruits, and they're doing all this without having success on the field yet. They have to prove that they can build a successful, a winning football team in order to really, really help their recruiting. Right now, they are selling a vision. They're selling a vision to these kids. Hey, we have all this potential. Syracuse football is on the up and up, right? They're selling hope. They're selling a vision. And that's good. Imagine if they start winning football games and they can start selling, hey, this isn't just a vision. This is a reality. Syracuse football can win football games. Syracuse football can be a power in the ACC. Syracuse football can be a top 15 team in the country. Imagine if they can start selling that to these kids. So it is imperative that the Orange have a really strong season because, hey, if they have a strong season, maybe you can get some guys who had Syracuse in your top 4, had Syracuse in the top 3, or Syracuse in the top 10. Maybe you can get some flips. Maybe you can. I'm not saying that CJ May is going to flip, or Malik Washington, or Tyler Williams, or Dwayne Galloway, or any of those guys. But it does happen. These are just verbal commits right now. So hopefully, Syracuse football can win football games and sell the kids winning.